It's the 20th of October 2020, and this is just another little shit quick video uh, looking at a the beginning of a conference. I've just watched a COVID 19 briefing that I've just watched with Sajid Javid explaining that cases are rising quickly, and you know people have got to have the booster vaccines and shit like, and and if the vaccine is now basically a freedom vaccine, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's gonna start to be, isn't it? I mean, it just says if you want your freedom, you've got to take the vaccine. And so, who are these people, man, and who still believes this shit now? I mean, isn't this shit starting to just get a bit old now? At the end of the day, I mean, the keep it's all bullshit, man. They just keep saying the same thing over and over again. And if it's happening here, it'll start to happen in other places as well. It'll be the United States and shit as well. It's gonna start to, because at the end of the day, these don't want this to end. They don't want to end the powers, the extra powers that they've been giving themselves and giving their billionaire friends, and the contracts that they've been giving each other for the vaccines and for test and trace and all this bullshit. This is too much profit in this bullshit for it to end at the end of the day, plus them getting control as well. So it's profit and control this is giving them now. I mean, you've got to look at the way things have changed in the last few years. Police have got extra powers. I mean, we're living in a country now which is basically demanding that citizens, take this vaccine, whether they like it or not. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, you've got no fucking choice. You take this fucking vaccine, and they're just going to keep going on and on. And at the end of the day, it's what concerns me about it the most is, like, if it's like this now, just imagine another 20 years, 30 years. We're moving into scary times, man. I mean, that politician the other day was stabbed, wasn't he? He was killed, and that's apparently some sort of terrorist attack. I mean, I don't know much about either the politician that was killed. I can't even remember his name, to be honest, and I can't remember, and I haven't actually heard much about what happened in in between. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know much about the man who allegedly committed the terrorist attack. But I mean, they're now talking about giving politicians, because of that murder, they're talking about giving politicians extra police protection paid for by us, like, working people, people that work and pay tax. You know what I mean? These are going to start to give themselves extra police protection because one politician was killed. And it's like, you know, I mean, I'm working in Birmingham, and I know I've been working in Birmingham now for on and off now for a few years, to be fair. And when I was working on one job in Birmingham, there was a kid pretty much killed, stabbed by other kids outside the the job I was on, and nobody gives a fuck about that. There's no extra protection for other kids around that area at the end of the day. So, you know, people get stabbed in this country every day, and I'm not trying to say that it's all right or anything like that, or what happened to him was all right, but people get murdered and killed in this country every day, whether they're politicians or ordinary people. At the end of the day, we all, everybody's at risk at that shit. And obviously, you just hope and pray it doesn't fucking happen to you at the end of the day, because obviously it's something that could happen. This country has got a knife problem, especially in certain cities where kids are given this idea that it's cool to carry a knife around with them, or they're just doing it for genuine protection because they feel intimidated to leave, because the areas that they live in are dodgy, and maybe they are at risk, and that's why they're carrying a knife for genuine protection. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it depends on the individual. There's always people that are going to do it just for the image, and there's always people that are going to do it because they feel like there's, they're potentially at risk, like somebody could have threatened them or something. But like I say, it happens to a politician, to a conservative politician, and all of a sudden now it's like they want extra police protection for politicians. And so I think they get enough police protection. I mean, Michael Gove was bombarded the other day when he was walking to Downing Street, and people started chasing him. Anti-vaxxers apparently there was chasing him, and and they've got a right to express. And I mean, if you're going to allow yourself, if you're that power hungry that you will take this sort of job, don't fucking cry. I mean, you get paid, man. Don't fucking cry about it. When you get, you know, when you're held responsible for your actions, like Michael Gove was. Well, he wasn't even held responsible for his actions at the end of the day. He had a few people shouting abuse at him. I mean, and these people can't take a bit of abuse, can they? Because of fucking, that's why the internet's all being censored now. Because I'm sick of hearing people taking abuse. It's like everything that you read is like, oh, people was abused and was mentally and verbally abused and shit like, and a lot of people feel sorry for themselves because, what is abuse at the end of the day? It's somebody calling you a name or something, or making fun of you or something. I mean, so what, man? Get over it, man. It's just a lot of bullshit, especially when you're a multi-millionaire. I mean, surely part and parcel of the being, a celebrity is that, you're going to have people that don't like you. You can't put yourself out there for people to react to and then cry because people react to it a different way that you wanted them to react to it. I mean, fucking hell. That's just bullshit at the end of the day. But that's the sort of society we're living in now. We're living in a sort of a society that, willingly deludes certain people, and people that criticise certain people or express an opinion on somebody sometimes dismissed as haters or fucking trolls or anything like. I mean, when realistically they're not. I mean, they're just expressing an opinion. I mean, people are allowed to express an opinion at the end of the day. This government supposedly works for the people, not the people work for the government at the end of the day. So, if you don't like what comes with being a politician, which is sometimes people are going to shout at you and stuff. I mean, obviously, nobody wants anybody to get killed. I mean, obviously, that's a bit too much at the end of the day. But, at the end of the day, when it comes to actually being verbally abused and all this shit, it's like, so what? You've been verbally abused. Who hasn't been verbally abused? You tell me one single person that hasn't been verbally abused. I mean, I was actually reading today in the Metro that Jermaine Genius, he was saying that he was racially abused. That's another thing. I mean, racially abused. It's like, again, that's just somebody calling somebody a name. Or, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with it or anything like that, but at the same time, it's kind of up to yourselves to rise above it at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, if somebody's talking like that, they're probably fucking idiots. So why the fuck do you give a fuck? I mean, that's the way I'd look at it anyway, or at least that's the way I'd like to think I would look at it, or at least that's, I think that's the way that people should try to do it. I mean, and not just, look for sympathy and violins and shit because somebody's apparently verbally abused you. I mean, that's the sort of society we're living in now. We're living in a sort of society now where everybody wants to be a victim. It seems to me like even rich people that have got everything, they're the worst for it sometimes. They all want to be victims, and we all are victims at the end of the day. Everybody's a fucking victim at the end of the day, and everybody's an abuser as well, in a certain fucking way. I mean, it's just the way it is. Everybody's fucking said and done things that they wish they didn't do, and especially when you're young and shit like. I mean, you might have done something that at the end of the day, that's all part of growing up, isn't it? And everybody's taking it as well. I mean, that's because at the end of the day, it's people giving out the abuse and it's people receiving it. So everybody's. So I mean, I've seen on on jobs and shit like going back years and years ago. I've seen people that hold certain jobs get bullied by their bosses terribly, and that sort of shit still goes on today. I mean, you can say you can delude yourself and think that we live in this ideal society where that sort of shit doesn't go on, but that sort of shit always goes on at the end of the day. I mean, I've been on jobs before where full grown men have been spoken to like them children in front of people. Do you know what I mean? And it's just to humiliate, and it's obvious. It's just to humiliate and to, stamp their authority on people, and not just the people who them actually, attacking. Sometimes to also people that are watching. It's like a subliminal warning to anybody that crosses. I mean, that's just the way some sort of people are at the end of the day. But really, the best thing to do is just tell them to fuck off, because most of the time they don't actually have an answer for that. You might have to be prepared to lose your job or bullshit like that. But at the end of the day, a job's a job. I mean, people don't talk to you like shit for fuck all, do they? So, but like I say, this politically correct society that we live in now is absolutely fucking pathetic. At the end of the day, and these politicians and these actors and actresses and fucking celebrities that are footballers and shit as well, sports people and shit, that are crying. I mean, it's like obviously footballers now, I mean, a lot of them, I mean, a lot of them are receiving abuse when they get the ball and shit like, and obviously there's a lot of black football players that have been racially abused, and, but that's all part of football, isn't it? I mean, in that circumstance, and I think the racial abuse, I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think sometimes the racial abuse should be taken so personally, because I've always said it that if you're in an argument with somebody, or if you're pissed off with somebody, or want to express hatred to somebody, you will find anything that you can, that to say to that person that you think might upset or offend them sometimes. So it doesn't necessarily. I mean, if somebody's wearing glasses, you might call them a four-eyed. You might use that against them. If somebody's fat, you're gonna use that against them. If somebody's fucking lanky, you're gonna use that against them. Anything that you can. And if somebody's different to you in race or religion or something like that, you might use that against them as well. So obviously these footballers, when they're crying about, and it's not just black players that are obviously pissed off with receiving abuse from football fans. Obviously there's a lot of players it's happened to in the past. But at the end of the day, I mean, just take it. I mean, you paid a fucking fortune, so what? So people fucking shout bullshit at you when you're playing football. I mean, just take it. At the end of the day, I mean, surely that's you paid enough. I'd take it for that sort of fucking money, for the sort of money they get. Honestly, I mean, I'd do it for a living. I'd stand there and let people shout abuse at me all day for a fraction of the money that they get. So if I do that, then at the end of the day, just fucking take it. I mean, people are just pricks. At the end of the day, people in numbers are usually just a bunch of fucking dickheads, and just be aware of that. I mean, most of the time, they don't necessarily deserve to be locked up because of a drunken fucking rant or something like that. But I mean, that's a sort of society we're living in now, where words are pretty much as bad as actions, and soon we're living in a sort of society where thoughts, are being brought, criminalised as well, especially when they've got the technology to do that sort of stuff, where they could say that certain people are more likely to become potential terrorists or potential fucking so and so, because of the brain waves or bullshit like that, something fucking weird like that, like, I mean, or even some sort of chip that could detect certain negative or positive thoughts, any sort of thoughts, like, so. But that's the thing now. You've got to be. We're living in a sort of society now, and it wasn't in the 90s. It's something that's just happened over the last 20 years. Well, it wasn't in the early 2000s either. I mean, it seems like now we're living in a sort of society where you have to be really careful what you say, especially if you're certain, if you're rich or if you're a celebrity or something. You have to be careful what you say, because there's a chance that somebody's going to get offended and just going to come along and cancel everything that you've ever done before because you've said something that offended a few people. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at anyway. But like I say, we could be back in a lockdown before Christmas unless everybody rushes out and gets the vaccines like the government want you to. But I'm going to leave it at anyway. Thanks for watching. I'm out.